Nintendo.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my video walkthrough for Animal Crossing 100%. This guide will cover how to obtain every single catalog item, complete the museum along with catching all the bugs and fish, all golden tools, all nug upgrades, all player statues, and the extra bridge, which are the standard requirements for Animal Crossing 100% speedruns. Without further ado, let's get started. Just smash through this KK slider text, nothing important here. I will take this time to point out some of the things you'll need for this playthrough. Most important is the second memory card so you can get Nookingtons, since a player from another town needs to buy something from Nookaway in order to upgrade. Next is any Game Boy Advance and a Game Boy Advance link cable in order to access the island. If you are playing on emulator, there is a workaround for both of the requirements which I will show off how to do later on. This next part you're riding the train to your new home and you'll be greeted by a cat named Rover. He simply asks you questions about where you're going and other stuff. He'll first ask you for the time, which I set to January 2nd, 2030 for the purposes of this walkthrough. This next part is important. To the right is a face guide showing which options you need to pick if you want a certain face. I'll pause the video and show which options are important, as well as a trick question at the end. No, this is not New Horizons, so you can't just pick your face, sadly. Go ahead and enter your name, and whether it's cool or cute determines if you're a boy or girl. Enter your town name, which I'll be going with the totally original name of 100%. Next you have some more options, which I'll pause so you can read them and jot them down. Now while we're going through this dialogue, I should lay down the rules for this guide. This is going to be a no Nook codes walkthrough, so I will be showing you how to obtain every single item the way the devs intended. Yes, this also includes the infamous post model, which requires you to save 999,999,999 bells. I'll be showing off how to do that both glitched and glitchless methods. Same goes for earning bells in the first place, because I understand that there will be people that want to use glitches and vice versa. There is a list of all the Nook codes in the spreadsheet for item tracking down below if you wish to use any. When Over comes back, he'll ask you one more question. Make sure you hit the bottom option if you don't want your face to be randomized and all that work to be for nothing. Not sure why they did it like this, but they did. With that done, the train sequence is finished. When you arrive, you'll start with a random shirt from a pool of 8 different shirts depending on your gender. These are what the shirts are if you're curious about marking it. Speaking of marking things, now would be a good time to point out the spreadsheet I'm using to keep track of everything. I'm using a simple Google Sheets I made that lists every catalog item, all the bugs and fish, and all the goals. Just click the link down below to the spreadsheet, then make a copy of it for your own personal use. There's also the Hundo Helper, which you can also use if you're on a computer, which is a neat little checklist of everything that was made by Forstride. Now back to the game. We've met Tom Nook and now you need to choose a house. I always prefer the top left house, since if you can get Nook's shop in Acre A2, then it's the fastest way to get to Nook's. Even if you pick the top right house and got A4 Nooks, it's still not as fast, but the choice is yours either way. Regardless, the house furniture items are always the same. Orange box, tape deck, and college rule. The wallpaper and carpet depend on which house you chose. In the end, every house will be occupied by the end of this first part, so you'll be obtaining every wallpaper and carpet from this list here. Anyways, after that, Tom Nook will go on about tutorial stuff that, yeah, who cares. Just spam through all that text, and at the end he will tell you how much the house cost. The house cost almost 20,000 bells, which you only bring 1,000 bells. Tom Nook laughs, but assures you that you can just pay it off by working for him. After that, he will tell you where his shop is located, which is important. In my case, he was in Acre A1, which is not what I want. Again, I prefer him in A2, so I'll reset until I get that. This is entirely up to you, but I would not recommend keeping Nooks in A1 or A5. as that is a huge time sink compared to A2 or A4, and trust me, you'll be going to Nooks a lot in this playthrough, so it is well worth it to reset until you get that. So only a few resets later, I got Nooks in Acre A2. Resetting also does mean your starting shirt changes, so I wouldn't worry about marking it until you at least get a town layout you're happy with. Just as a bonus for the map, I also got the post office in Acre A4, which is what I was hoping for. Now the post office doesn't really matter as much depending if you want to go for a billion bells. If you do want to go for that, then you really need the A2 Nooks A4 post combo, or vice versa. Now looking at the map, there are 6 villagers and a mayor to introduce ourselves to. You could just go straight to Nooks like Nook said, but you have to introduce yourself to everyone anyway to complete chores, so it's better to get this out of the way now. When starting out, you're given one of each villager type. Lazy, jock, cranky, snooty, normal, and peppy. So everyone starts out with the same amount of villagers no matter what, which is nice. Also interesting to point out that my town has 2 layers, which is what most people would be getting. Some maps however are 3 layers, but they are uncommon to get. While they're cool to have, I personally still like to have a simple 2-layer town since it's easier to navigate through. On the way, I would recommend stopping by the police station, as there's some free stuff in the Lost and Found. When you start the game, there will always be 1 furniture and 2 clothing in the Lost and Found, and is what I do in 100% speedruns as well. Every day you go forwards, there's a 50% chance something will spawn in the Lost and Found, and it can hold up to 6 items at a time, so if that's something you want to check regularly, you can. There's also this cool trick you can do in the menu to change the background. Just grab any shirt and drag it to the bottom of the screen, apply it, and the menu will change to the background of that particular shirt, which is super cool, and it's a shame it was only used in this game and Wild World. Also, as the result of doing this, you obtain the big dot shirt, since that was the shirt of the default background. Anyways, after that, go ahead and finish up intros and enter Nook Shop. When you enter Nooks, he'll give you the work uniform so you can start chores. There's a lot of chores to do for Nook, but they're all simple and 2 of them are already done for us. For the first task, Nook will give you a set of flowers and saplings to plant around his store, which is a good tutorial on how to use the menu and such. Now it doesn't matter where you actually plant these, just plant them anywhere. The sapling placements don't really matter either, but if you want to, I'd plant them in areas where the tree would likely grow in Nook's shop, the dump, or the post office for right now. Your next task is to deliver some furniture. If you missed someone in intros or didn't do intros yet, your next task will actually be to do that instead first, then deliver the furniture, but we already did that. Nook will tell you which acre the villager lives in, which is helpful seeing as we still don't have a map. So just go find the villager to deliver the furniture to. I got lucky with this map since all the villagers were pretty close to Nook's shop. Typically you'll have some villagers living in the E or F rows and delivering to them can be a pain. The villager will be grateful that you delivered this and in return will give you a random piece of Nook furniture. They then tell you how to use the furniture in your house if you don't know how to do that yet. So Nook is finally coming to his senses and gives you a map which you can use at any time with the X button, which will come in very handy throughout the entire game. After that, you'll be tasked with mailing a letter to a random villager in town. Now Nook only tells you who to mail this to twice, so make sure you pay attention, otherwise you'll have to write the letter, then come back in for another piece of stationery, and that's just not fun. The stationery gives you is called simple paper if you want to mark that now. Go ahead and open the letter menu and choose the correct villager, in which I did not. But that's okay, you can change who you're writing to by using the D-pad and selecting the correct one. As for what to write, Write absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter what you write, so don't worry about wasting your time with that. Head over to the post office to mail off the letter, then come back. Nook's next task? He doesn't have yet. So instead he asks you to go help out a villager while he works on it in the meantime. This is a good introduction to villager favors, and I'll be showing these off later on in this chapter. If you don't care about villager favors, you don't have to. You can decline the request and it will still count towards the chore being completed. Even better, the off chance the villager doesn't have anything for you to do, that also counts as well. The villager may get angry if you decline the request, which could be a problem if you have to deliver to them later, but simply exiting and re-entering the acre fixes their mood. The next task is delivering a carpet to a random villager, very similar to the furniture task, except Nook does not tell you which acre the villager lives in, so feel free to open the map if you're unsure where the villager is. The reward you get is a random Nook carpet. Next up is to deliver an axe. This axe will always be for the same villager you wrote the letter to. In my case, it was Mallory. Another simple delivery task. Now the funny thing about this is that the villager shows you the letter you wrote earlier, in which we wrote nothing, and they'll go on about how they love receiving letters and all that. Ah yes, I too love getting blank messages. And the final task for Nook is to advertise his shop by writing a message on the bulletin board. He says you can write anything as long as you don't embarrass him. I guess he's had a problem with people doing that in the past. Anyways, just like the letter writing task, you can write absolutely nothing and it will still count as the chore being completed. And with that, you're free! Nook goes over the remainder of the debt and suggests ways to make money. I'll be going over these methods later on. Just go through his final dialogue and you're done with chores. Freedom! Now that that's done, the first thing I would recommend doing is going through all the villager tutorial dialogue and setting your birthday. Your birthday is important because you received the birthday cake item on that day you set. As you can see, there's a lot of tutorial stuff, which I sped up for your convenience. Enjoy. Finally, once that's done, go ahead and save and quit, which you'll need to talk to your gyroid every time you want to do that. It's a good time to do this now anyway, since we haven't saved our town yet. After that, we have more chores to do. Yay. Load back up your town, and when the villager asks who you are, say, "I'm new," to create a new player. You need to create all 4 players to get 100%, since there's a player statue for each one that you pay off all the debts for, which yes, it does mean we have to do chores 4 times. Just in case you think that's bad enough, there's more chores to do in the future, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. When you're creating another player, it's important that you don't name them the same name as someone else, as Rover will get confused and ask you to name them literally anything else. It's also important that you make at least one of these characters the opposite gender from your main character, since there is a reward later on for Tortimer that is different depending on if you're a boy or girl, so go ahead and do that now. If you didn't, don't worry about it, as we're going to create a second town later on anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out most of this footage so you don't have to watch all this boring chore stuff. It's only important we save the starting shirt, furniture and carpet rewards from Chores, and the starting wallpaper and carpet from the player's house. So that's a total of 5 items per character we'll need to drop on the ground afterward. And also, don't worry about the flower zapping placements in Chores. I just planted trees around Nooks and some other acres in the top row. Once you're done, head over to your house since we'll be taking out the wallpaper and carpet from these houses and giving them to our main character. To do so, open the menu and go to the Patterns tab and paste any pattern on the wall and floor. After that, drop all the stuff in your inventory, then save and quit. Here's a little trick you can do to save some time for each time you save and quit. If you press the reset button on your console while it's saving, the game will auto reset once it's done saving. It saves a few seconds each time, so it's pretty minor, so if you don't feel comfortable doing it, then it doesn't matter, just wanted to share that neat little time save. And now it's time to do chores 2 more times. All of this took me around 45 minutes total, so it's not too bad. If you're wondering why we're doing all the chores right now, it's because for 1, we're going to sell all the stuff afterwards, so it's good early game bells, and 2, there's only 6 villagers in town, so doing the intros 4 times is a lot faster than having, say, 10 plus villagers in town. And 3, well, it's good to get this out of the way now. Finally, after all that's done, we're going to be wrapping things up for this first part. In the next part, I'll be going over the basics on how to make some early game bells, villager requests, and exploring the town and seeing what it has to offer. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.